Robin Williams sat in the back row of drama class, staring at his shoes, praying the teacher wouldn't call on him. He was 16, chubby, quiet, the kind of kid other students forgot was even there. Up front, the popular theater kids were performing their improvisation exercises. Confident, polished, showing off years of training. They were good. They knew it. And when one of them glanced back at Robin and whispered to his friend, loud enough for Robin to hear, "Bet the fat kid can't even say his own name without stuttering," the whole class snickered. Then the teacher said the words Robin had been dreading. "Robin Williams, you're up."
Improvisation, a day in the life of a high school cafeteria. Robin stood up, handshaking, and walked to the front of the room. The snickering got louder, and then he opened his mouth. What happened in the next 3 minutes made the entire class go silent, made the teacher start crying, and revealed the weapon Robin would use to fight loneliness for the rest of his life, and the curse that meant he could never stop performing. Fall 1967, Redwood High School, Larkspur, California. Third period drama class in room 142. Mrs. Elizabeth Douthit had been teaching theater for 18 years, and she'd seen every type of student. The naturally talented, the hard workers, the show-offs. Mrs. Douthit had tried to draw him out a few times, asked him to read stage directions, simple stuff. Robin would stand up, read in a monotone voice barely above a whisper, and sit back down as fast as possible. She'd started to wonder why he'd even taken the class. Some kids were required to take an arts credit. Maybe that was it. Robin Williams seemed like the kind of kid who'd rather be anywhere else. The popular students in that class were different. There was Brad Morrison, tall, handsome, already the lead in the fall production of Our Town. There was Jennifer Chen, who'd been performing in community theater since she was 8. Michael Torres, who'd taken private acting lessons and never let anyone forget it. These kids owned the front row. They volunteered for every exercise. They knew the terminology, blocking, subtext, motivation. They were the stars, and they acted like it. Robin Williams was not a star. He was overweight, soft-spoken, overlooked. He wore the same few shirts in rotation, none of them quite fitting right. His hair was a mess. He had no friends in the class. No friends anywhere, really. He'd eat lunch alone, sit alone on the bus, go home to that big empty house in Tiburon, where his parents were never around, and the only sound was the echo of his own footsteps. What none of these students knew, what Mrs. Douthit didn't know, was that Robin Williams had been performing his entire life, just not for an audience. Up in the attic of his family's mansion, Robin had created an entire universe. Thousands of toy soldiers, each with their own voice, their own personality, their own backstory. He'd spent hours alone, talking to himself, being all the characters at once. The stern general, the cowardly private, the wisecracking sergeant, the British officer, the German enemy. He could switch between them instantly, never breaking character, creating full conversations where he played every part. He'd learned to do this because he had to, because the silence of that big house was unbearable, because his father was always traveling for work, because his mother, Lori, only seemed to notice him when he made her laugh. So Robin had discovered, very young, that performing wasn't optional. It was survival. Make them laugh or disappear. Those were the choices. But he'd never performed for anyone outside his family. The thought of standing in front of people, being watched, being judged, it terrified him. So in drama class, he hid, stayed quiet, hoped to get through the semester without anyone noticing him. October 17th, 1967. Mrs. Douthit announced they'd be doing improvisation exercises. No scripts, no preparation, just pure spontaneous performance. She'd give them a scenario, and they'd have to create a scene on the spot. The exercise would help them learn to think on their feet, stay in character, commit to choices. Brad Morrison went first. His scenario: you're a used car salesman trying to sell a broken-down vehicle. Brad was good. He was smooth, funny, playing the sleazy salesman with exaggerated confidence.
The class laughed. Mrs. Douthit nodded approvingly. Nice work, Brad. Good commitment to the character. Jennifer Chen was next. Scenario: you're a librarian dealing with a noisy patron. Jennifer played it with increasing frustration, building the tension, getting genuine laughs when she finally snapped. More applause, more approval. Michael Torres. Scenario: you're a nervous person on a first date. Michael went big, playing up the nervousness to comic extremes, sweating, stammering, knocking over imaginary water glasses. The class ate it up. Robin sank lower in his seat. These kids were good, really good. They had training, experience, confidence. What did he have? Voices he did for toy soldiers in an empty attic. That wasn't the same thing. That wasn't real performing.
Mrs. Douthit was working her way through the class, getting closer to the back row. Robin's heart started pounding. Maybe she'd forget about him. Maybe she'd run out of time. Maybe...
Robin Williams, you're up. The room went quiet. Students turned to look at him like they'd forgotten he existed. Robin felt his face go red. His hands started shaking. He didn't move.
Come on, Robin, Mrs. Douthit said encouragingly. Don't be nervous. It's just an exercise.
Brad Morrison leaned over to Michael Torres and whispered, loud enough for half the class to hear, "Bet the fat kid can't even say his own name without stuttering." Snickers rippled through the room. Jennifer Chen covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Robin stood up. His legs felt like water. He walked to the front of the classroom, each step an eternity. The snickering got louder. Someone in the back made a joke about the floor shaking. More laughter. Mrs. Douthit shot the class a warning look. The laughter died down to whispers. She turned to Robin with a kind smile. All right, Robin, your scenario is a day in the life of a high school cafeteria. You can be anyone in the cafeteria, students, staff, whoever you want. Just show us what you see. Take your time. Robin stood there, hands trembling, staring at 30 pairs of eyes, all of them expecting him to fail, all of them ready to laugh at him, not with him. His mind went blank. He couldn't do this. He couldn't. And then something clicked. He'd done this before, not in front of people, but alone in his room. He'd been dozens of characters, hundreds of voices. The cafeteria scenario? He'd lived that. He'd observed every detail of the Redwood High cafeteria because he ate lunch alone every single day, watching people, listening, cataloging all the different types of students and their behaviors.
He knew exactly who these people were. He'd just never shown anyone. Robin took a breath, and then he became someone else.
He started as the lunch lady. Hunched posture, tired voice, Eastern European accent. Next, you want peas? You take peas. I don't care you don't like peas. You take. His whole body changed. The way he stood, the way he moved. Even his face looked different, older, exhausted. The whispers stopped. Then, without pause, Robin snapped upright and became a cocky football player. Chest puffed out, swagger, deep voice. Yo, let me get 3 burgers. No, 4. I'm bulking. Coach says I gotta eat. Perfect jock voice. Perfect attitude. One girl in the front row's mouth dropped open. Robin spun, became a nervous freshman girl picking at her food, voice high and anxious. Is anyone sitting here? No? Are you sure? Okay, sorry. The physical transformation was instant. Shoulders pulled in, eyes darted around, every movement screaming insecurity.
Brad Morrison sat forward in his seat.
Then Robin was the janitor, mopping up a spill, muttering in a gravelly voice. Every day these kids make mess. I clean, they mess. I clean, they mess. This is my life now.
Mrs. Douthit's hand went to her mouth.
Oh my God, Tiffany, did you hear about Brad? I know, right? He's like so totally.
The principal, stern and officious. Attention students, no running in the cafeteria. I don't care if you're late to class, you walk. A stoner kid, slow and spacey. Dude, is this tuna or chicken? I honestly can't tell, man. It's like the same color.
And finally, a foreign exchange student, confused, heavily accented. Excuse me, what is tater tots? This is potato, yes, but why is called tot is very confusing American food. The entire sequence took maybe 3 minutes. Robin never stopped moving, never broke character. He flowed from one person to the next seamlessly, his voice changing, his posture changing, his entire being transforming over and over. It was like watching 8 different actors perform, except it was one 16-year-old kid who'd been invisible 30 seconds ago. When Robin finally stopped, breathing hard, the classroom was dead silent. Nobody was whispering. Nobody was smirking. They were all staring at him like they'd just seen something impossible. Mrs. Douthit had tears streaming down her face. Actual tears. She stood up from her desk, walked over to Robin, and put her hands on his shoulders. "Robin," she said, her voice shaking. That was extraordinary. In 18 years of teaching, I have never seen anything like that. Never." Robin blinked. He didn't understand. Was she mad at him? Did he do something wrong? "You need to do this professionally," Mrs. Douthit continued. "I'm serious. You have a gift, a real gift. You need to pursue this." The class erupted in applause. Real applause, not the polite kind. Brad Morrison was clapping. Jennifer Chen was clapping. Even the kids who'd been laughing at him were on their feet, because what they just witnessed wasn't a high school drama exercise. It was something else entirely. Robin stood there, overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. For the first time in his life, people weren't just seeing him. They were seeing what he could do, and it terrified him as much as it thrilled him. After class, Mrs. Douthit pulled Robin aside. "I want you to audition for the spring play, and I want you to consider studying theater seriously. Have you thought about college, about drama school?" Robin shook his head. "I don't know. My dad wants me to go into business or something practical." "Robin, what you just did in there, that's not something you can teach. That's pure instinct, pure talent. Don't waste it." She handed him a piece of paper. "This is information about College of Marin's theater program. And this," she handed him another paper, "is about Juilliard in New York, the best drama school in the country. I think you could get in. I really do." Robin took the papers, not sure what to say. Nobody had ever told him he was good at anything before. Nobody had ever said he had a gift. Over the next few weeks, something shifted. In drama class, Robin started volunteering. Not much, just a little. He'd raise his hand occasionally. He'd participate in exercises. And every time he performed, the class would go silent, because they'd learned, when Robin Williams performed, you didn't talk, you watched. He got the lead in the spring play. He was brilliant. He started taking drama more seriously, started thinking about it as more than just an elective. Mrs. Douthit became his mentor, encouraging him, pushing him, believing in him when nobody else did. But here's what Robin discovered in those months after that improvisation exercise, something that would shape the rest of his life. Performing felt good, better than good. When he was being someone else, he didn't have to be Robin Williams, the lonely fat kid with no friends. He could be anyone. He could make people laugh. He could make them pay attention. And the rush he got from that, the applause, the validation, the feeling of mattering, was addictive. He started performing all the time, in the hallways, in the lunchroom, anywhere people would watch. Because when he wasn't performing, he was nobody. He was invisible. But when he performed, he existed. People saw him. People liked him. So he kept performing, and performing, and performing. By the time Robin Williams graduated from Redwood High in 1969, he'd been accepted to College of Marin to study theater. 2 years later, he'd auditioned for Juilliard and become one of only 2 students accepted into the advanced program. His roommate would be Christopher Reeve. His teacher would be John Houseman. and his career would explode beyond anything anyone could have imagined. But that improvisation exercise in Mrs. Douthat's class in 1967, those 3 minutes when Robin became 8 different characters, that was the moment everything changed. That was when Robin discovered his weapon.
And his curse.
Because here's the thing about that day that nobody talks about. Yes, Robin discovered he had a gift. Yes, he found his calling. Yes, he made people laugh and got the validation he'd been craving his entire childhood. But he also learned something dangerous, that being himself wasn't enough. That Robin, just Robin, the quiet kid who liked to read and think and be alone sometimes, wasn't interesting, wasn't valuable, wasn't worth paying attention to.
Only the characters were worth watching. Only the performances mattered. Only when he was being someone else did people care.
So Robin Williams spent the next 47 years performing. On stage, on screen, in interviews and parties, at dinner with friends. He could never stop, because stopping meant being invisible again, and invisible meant alone, and alone meant back in that attic with the toy soldiers, talking to himself in the dark.
The weapon he'd created to fight loneliness became the thing that made loneliness permanent. Because you can't connect with people when you're always performing for them. You can't be known when you're always being someone else. You can't rest when stopping feels like dying.
In interviews later in life, Robin would sometimes talk about that drama class, about Mrs. Douthat, who'd believed in him when nobody else did, about the moment he discovered he could make people laugh. He'd smile when he told the story, but sometimes, if you looked closely, you'd see something else in his eyes, a sadness, a weariness, the look of someone who'd been performing for so long they'd forgotten what it felt like to stop.
Mrs. Douthat retired in 1983. Robin sent her flowers and a card that read, "Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. Thank you for telling me I mattered. You changed my life." They stayed in touch over the years. She'd see him on TV, in movies, becoming one of the biggest stars in the world, and she'd feel proud. But she'd also feel worried, because she remembered that scared 16-year-old in her classroom, and she wondered if he ever found peace. When Robin Williams died in 2014, Mrs. Douthat was 87 years old. She attended his memorial service in San Francisco. Someone asked her what she remembered most about Robin as a student. She said, "He could become anyone, absolutely anyone. The only person he struggled to be was himself."
Today, there's a plaque in room 142 at Redwood High School. It reads, "In this room, Robin Williams discovered his voice. May all students find the courage to share their gifts with the world." Drama students pass it every day. Some of them stop and read it. Some of them wonder what it would feel like to have that kind of talent, to be able to transform like that.
What they don't know, what nobody tells them, is that gifts come with prices, that the thing that saves you can also trap you, that being extraordinary means you can never be ordinary again, and sometimes ordinary is all you want to be. If this story about discovering your gift and the price that comes with it moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to just be yourself, that you don't have to perform to matter. Have you ever felt like you had to be someone else to be accepted? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about the cost of greatness and the courage it takes to be seen.